So today I'm going to be reviewing Adobe's new app, Adobe Fresco, which is just available on the iPad. In July I did a review on the iPad, the Apple Pencil and Procreate, so if you want to go and check that out for my full review on what I think about drawing on the iPad, I will have linked it in the description below. It might be a good video to review if you're thinking about possibly getting an iPad to draw on, as I talk a little bit more about how the pencil works and how the screen reacts with it. So in this video I am going to be talking mainly about Adobe Fresco and what I think of it. However, I am also going to be talking about Procreate and kind of comparing it a little bit and talking about what I like in Procreate and what the new app is missing and little bits like that, because I think it's really important to get like a full detailed review on like the best things out there. So that is what I'm going to do today. So just so you know, Procreate are planning on releasing a massive update in the next few months. That's hopefully going to be out before Christmas. Procreate 5 is meant to be one of the biggest updates they've ever done, maybe even the biggest. And I think this is definitely to rival Adobe. So I will do a review on Procreate 5 when that does come out, because there are going to be so many new features that I think will be great. So I will do a review on Procreate 5 when that comes out, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I have uploaded it. So Adobe Fresco is actually included in the Creative Cloud subscription, so if you're already paying for that, it's basically free. You know, you've got to pay the same amount you're already paying for everything, but I think that's a great deal if you get everything, because I think it's over like 20 programs, so you do have a lot there on offer. However, if you don't have the Creative Cloud subscription, it is actually £10 a month, which I think is quite a lot, especially considering a Procreate is only a one-time payment of £10. So paying £10 a month I think is a lot of money really, and it's probably better off that you get the Creative Cloud subscription anyway. The feature I really was missing from Procreate was Coyote Webster's brushes. I love them. They were my favorite brushes to use in Photoshop, and it was so kind of sad to see them go. You know, with using my iPad, like I really like the accessibility the iPad has compared to using my Wacom tablet. However, you couldn't have the brushes on Procreate. So now Adobe has released this drawing app for the iPad. I now have access to these paintbrushes, so it's going to be really nice to be able to try them out again and use them again, because they're the best brushes I've ever used in any software. But in Procreate 5 they're actually supposed to be coming out with an update which will allow you to import Photoshop brushes into the software. I don't know how exactly that is going to work, because I know Coyote Webster is in a contract with Photoshop, but maybe there'll be a way to work around that. So it will be nice to see how the brushes turn out on Procreate and if they'll be the same as they are in Adobe software. But I'm excited to see how that all works, especially since I have been liking Procreate a lot. So some of the features that I felt like Procreate has been missing has definitely been the shape tool. That's not really ever been a good feature for it to miss. There are kind of workarounds with it, but it's not great, and you know, even if you draw a circle, it's kind of misshapen a little bit. Like, you still get the perfect oval or circle, but if you want a circle you have to draw it more perfectly to a circle, or it'll come out like an oval, and then some of the sides are thicker or thinner. Like, you don't get a perfect circle like you want. But unfortunately Adobe Fresco hasn't even come out with that feature. They've got a feature which is sort of similar to Procreate, but it actually only works with straight lines, and even then it doesn't straighten out the whole line. You can see at the end there's a little bit of a squiggle there, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but you can't do other shapes, you can only do straight lines. There's literally no way of making circles. I know there are brushes available to download, but you know, who wants to use a brush to make a circle when there could just be a tool? And I'm kind of surprised they didn't put that in, but maybe Adobe felt like they didn't need to have that feature because Procreate doesn't have it, so they thought they'd match there. When I was looking through Adobe Fresco, I noticed that the line tool where you like hold down and make a line, that is actually still in testing mode, and they haven't fully launched it. You have to actually go into settings and turn it on, which may be why it's not great right now, and hopefully they'll expand that and include more shapes like circles and squares. Procreate has an animation feature as well. You can make a GIF using layers. As far as I've looked in my research, I believe that Procreate 5 will then include onion skins and hopefully a timeline, but not much has been said about that yet. But Adobe Fresco has absolutely no animation features, which isn't really an issue because I don't really use Procreate for animation anyway, but that is because I use other software like Toon Boom, but then it would be nicer to be able to animate on my iPad without having to turn the computer on all the time, especially when I'm just doing something a little fun and silly. I know there are other apps out there that do animation, but I've never really liked them as much as Toon Boom, so I haven't bothered trying them out to an extent. Here are my favourite things about Fresco. They have the gouache brushes, which I love. As I've said before, they are the best thing about this, is bringing the brushes back to iPad, because I have missed them so much. They also have vector brushes, which I think is quite a different feature to most apps. Like, you've got both. Like, usually it's one or the other. Like, you have Photoshop for pixels, and then you have Illustrator if you want to make a vector, but I think it's a great thing that they have included that into Adobe Fresco and that you can access both there. They also have their new dynamic live brushes, which I've actually tried out and I do think they're really cool. However, it is digital art, so is it really necessary? Like, if I wanted to get the movement from the water or something, you know, I'd just draw it like that in the first place rather than waiting to see it move. I think it's a really cool thing to use when you want to blend colours together. However, I don't personally think it's something I'm going to use that much for my style, especially. You have to actually wait for the digital art to like run out on the screen, which is a little bit strange, but it's kind of cool to watch, but I feel like it's a bit of a novelty thing, really. I mean, maybe for some people it would be great, but for me it's not really my thing. I just prefer to be able to draw it exactly like I want it to be in the first place. But I'm not going to lie, it will be good for blending, doing tie-dye effects, maybe some gradient stuff like that, but I don't know. I just don't really care about it that much. It's not like a big thing for me. I wouldn't mind if it didn't have it. The mask tools are also so much easier to use on Fresco than they are with Procreate. Procreate, I think they're a little bit harder to understand and get your head around, but with Fresco you can kind of see where you are masking the layers, you can reverse it, you can invert it, and there's lots of little features there with that. There is also the ability to use a fill tool as well, which I think is kind of necessary. Picking new colours is super easy to use for your paintbrushes. However, once you put the colour down on the screen, that is the colour it's staying. There is no way of changing it. If you put down one blue and then you want to make it a darker blue, you can't change it. I think the only workaround for that is to export it as a Photoshop file and then load it up on a desktop computer or a laptop and edit it that way. But through the app you can't actually change the colours yet, which is kind of frustrating, really. The other thing I noticed is that moving in, like pinching in and out and zooming around, turning the page, just didn't feel quite as smooth as Procreate does, but obviously that can improve over time and we might be able to see that getting better as the software gets older. And the other thing I found a little bit strange about Fresco is that with it takes a bit to save, which I don't really know if that means it's saving it to the cloud or saving it to your iPad, but when you leave the software or leave the page you're working on, it just takes quite a while to save, and the same when you try and load it up, it takes a second to come up, whereas with Procreate it is just pretty much instant. I think that is because it is saving to the Adobe cloud, but I don't know. I don't think that's really necessary, especially if you already save everything to your Apple cloud, but I guess it's nice to have an extra backup there if you need it. So this last feature I'm going to talk about is the time-lapse video. I feel like Adobe wouldn't have included this feature if Procreate didn't have it. I feel like this is quite a big feature that Procreate has because it's so handy, especially for artists who want to share their process and things on Instagram or YouTube or anywhere. I really like being able to easily export a video showing you how I drew my whatever I was drawing. I've always felt like Apple's screen recording features have been a little bit iffy and they don't always work as you'd want them to, so it is really nice that Fresco have included this feature. However, I don't think they would have included it if Procreate didn't have it, because I think a lot of people like that and I think people would have stuck to Procreate if they didn't include that. But I am really happy they did include it because then I was able to create this speed draw.
As with Procreate, Fresco allows you to bring up a photo that you can reference next to it, or you could open any other app. But me personally, it makes no sense so you have the reference photo right beside me. But if you wanted to, I guess you could put on music, you could put on a movie. I really like that you can do this because personally I don't take up all the screen when I'm drawing, and especially as you can zoom in to most of the details. I don't think it's necessary for it to like take up the whole screen, so it is nice that you're able to have the reference photo right beside you so you don't have to flick between programs. In the comments of my last iPad video, I was asked if I noticed a lag between Procreate and the Apple Pencil. Personally, I didn't. With Fresco, I did notice there to be a little bit of a lag. This might just be because it's new and it still needs things improving, but it is kind of frustrating a little bit. It's not really an issue, it's not annoying enough, but sometimes you could notice that there was a little bit of a lag there. But it wasn't the end of the world and wouldn't really stop me using the software because it wasn't that bad at all. It was fine, it was good enough for what I wanted to use it for. I really enjoyed getting to use my brushes again. I haven't been able to use these brushes in so long because I've just found it so much easier to draw on my iPad than on my Wacom tablet. So it was nice to experiment with them on a different screen. I did feel like they felt a little bit different to when I used them in Photoshop. I'm not sure if they're slightly different to what they are in Photoshop because obviously the software is different and they will have had to be converted in some way. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I feel like a little bit different, but they are pretty much close enough, and I still love them. Both Procreate and Fresco have their pros and their cons, and I think I might actually end up using both depending on what kind of piece I want to create. Procreate is a lot quicker to use and it's a lot easier as well, but I'm also excited to see what animation features they bring out.
Thank you so much for watching this video and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're thinking about drawing on the iPad, check out the link down in the description where I put the video where I reviewed Procreate, the iPad and the iPad Pencil, as I kind of go in more detail about how it's like to draw on the iPad. And if you don't want to miss my Procreate 5 review, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell button so you'll be the first to be notified for when I next upload. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up as well and I can try and make more videos like this. If there's anything else you'd like me to review, please let me know in the comments below and I'll see if I can check it out. So thanks again for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!